5 minutes and counting.
There's been another mass shooting in America. This time in a...
Right, Sunrise Newsfeed this morning, a 4-year-old child has started the process of transitioning genders with the help of the New South Wales Department of Education. They're helping the preschooler through the process before starting kindy to alleviate pressure.
Well, there is a growing number of young children seeking to change their gender. Among them, a 4-year-old in New South Wales who is yet to start kindergarten. Referrals to Sydney's Children's Hospital at Westmead for gender services have tripled, while Melbourne's Royal Children's Hospital is helping more than 250 kids. It's a very hot topic, very controversial this morning. Let's bring in news.com.au editor San Sankey and advertising guru Jane Caro. Dan, 4 years old, is it too young?
Well, of course it's too young. I mean, most 4-year-olds I know don't even know what they're going to have for breakfast, let alone have the mental and emotional capacity to make a decision on something that's as life-altering as gender transformation. I mean, I just think this is ridiculous. And now we've got state governments putting in place policies to allow this to happen for kids as young as 4. I think that's crazy. I mean, why can't we just let kids be kids? I mean, let them play with whatever toys they want, dress whichever way they want, and then later in life, when they actually understand what the process is and what that means for the rest of their lives, let them make that call and support them doing that. But 4 years old, I think that's crazy.
Jane, it sounds too young, doesn't it? But there are hundreds of kids involved in this. What do you think?
Well, I kind of want to bow to the experts on this because I don't really know a whole lot about it. But what I would say is this: there's transitioning and transitioning. If we're talking about hormone treatments and operations, then I'd be really wondering, I think this should wait. Any operation or hormone treatment on a very young child should only happen for good, like health, life-saving reasons. But if it's all about just living the way they want to, cutting their hair the way they want to, growing it or whatever, fine. Let them do what they want. And I'm prepared to say there are experts in this who understand this area a lot more than I do. I feel for the parents, I feel for the kid, I feel for teachers and everyone involved in it. It's very complex, and I'd leave it up to them. I am not in favour, however, of interfering actually physically with children of that age for any reason, unless it's to save their life.
So people in clown outfits trying to lure children into the woods with candy.
It sounds like a plotline out of some horror movie, but people in Greenville in an apartment complex there say this is happening to them. Brianna Smith spoke with the family who saw them first, so she's joining us live now in Greenville County at the Sheriff's Office with more. Brianna?
Amy, the Sheriff's Office has been working for over a week now to try and substantiate those claims that there were clowns in those woods, and so far they haven't been able to. But they're taking this really seriously, stepping up patrols and making sure that all the children there are safe.
They're at that tree back there.
Nat Arnold's mom is watching over him a little closer these days.
This is ridiculous. We got kids out here in this community.
That's after he came running home, saying he'd seen something strange in these woods.
One of them has all white face with black stars on around his eyes, and then one of them has a clown costume on and has red hair.
Clowns hidden through the trees.
There was clowns running in the woods telling the kids that they had candy and they would give it to them if they came there.
And while the story sounds too strange to be true,
it sounds far-fetched, it sounds like it's really out there, but I don't believe it. I believe it's true because there's too many sightings.
The Arnolds soon learned that they weren't the only ones on edge.
Turn around the next day, I had about 30 kids come and say, Miss Donna, there's clowns in the woods, there's clowns in the woods. And then it's just been every day since.
Fleetwood Manor wouldn't go on camera, but they tell me they've heard from dozens of people who live here, all with different stories about the clowns. That's why they've asked the Greenville County Sheriff's Office to do extra patrols, just in case something happens. This incident report shows that residents have heard chains banging on their doors, that the clowns have tried to lure children, and that they're running around the property, creating fear in these children's eyes.
That somebody's going to try to get me.
And frustration in the parents.
I'm at the point now, my kids are scared to even go to sleep.
This story has made national headlines all day, even trending on Twitter for a while. But Greenville County deputies say this is a normal case for them and investigating a suspicious person, and that if you have any information, they're asking you to call the sheriff's office or report if you do see these clowns.
A North Texas man says he is not backing down after his HOA ordered him to take down a Back the Blue flag, and now his neighbors are joining that fight. Gilma Avalos live tonight in Corinth, new at 10. Kaylee, since the HOA asked this homeowner to remove his Back the Blue flag, other neighbors here are backing him. In fact, on this corner, you're going to see 3 new flags flying just like it, with plans for other neighbors to join in on the fight. Rodney Ivester has been flying this thin blue line flag next to Old Glory since after the Dallas ambush attack.
It's simply being supportive of law enforcement.
Then this letter from the Oakmont HOA ordering him to remove it.
No noxious or offensive activity shall be undertaken on this property. That's upsetting. I mean, I take that as obnoxious and offensive.
Ivester says the letter, which calls the Back the Blue flag a, quote, altered American flag, followed a single complaint to the HOA that it was offensive.
I know a lot of people will look at this flag and there's certainly mixed emotions, but there's nothing more to read into it than simply I'm supporting our local law enforcement.
His story hit social media and neighbors quickly backed him for backing the blue.
It brought joy to my heart that more people are backing the blue, especially someone that I live next door to.
Camille Bowen is the daughter of a police officer. Her home now flying a flag just like Ivester's, as are 2 others. Neighbors bracing themselves for a similar letter from the HOA.
We're prepared. I check that mailbox daily and I'm sure we'll get it, but we're all in it together.
Ivester says, like his neighbors, most have been overwhelmingly supportive, but he has received some threats online.
We're going to come down and take your flag. We'll teach you a thing or two.
Yet, he's still not backing down.
In America, that's a great thing with living here, is we have the ability to express ourselves.
Important to note, we did make several attempts to reach the HOA, but we are still waiting to hear back. Ivester tells us that he received a second letter informing him that the only flags allowed are the U.S., Texas, and military flags. We did spot a couple of team flags and even a UK flag in the area.
Tonight, take a look at these injuries on a 7-year-old boy. A Burmese woman who now lives in Indianapolis says the state's religious freedom law allows her to do this, discipline her child as she sees fit. But the Marion County prosecutor says it is child abuse. RTV6's Derek Thomas reports.
Ken Partang attends this church that serves Burmese immigrants in central Indiana. In court documents, she said, if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. The 30-year-old Tang is charged with battery against a person less than 14 years old and neglect of a dependent. This is a photograph of the wounds on the back of her 7-year-old son that she allegedly administered with a plastic coat hanger. Tang's attorney filed a legal argument that the charges should be dismissed because of religious freedom. Prosecutor Terry Curry saw this coming.
We've been frustrated with the RFRA law since the point that it was enacted because as we advised at the time and told legislators if you didn't exempt out criminal code, people were going to assert this as a defense to what otherwise is criminal conduct.
Tang's attorney Greg Bowes would not do an on-camera interview, but we talked to Burmese immigrant Reverend Ray Mung about cultural differences that may have given Tang the impression that what she was doing was not illegal.
The government has no authority, legal authority to intervene the parents how they discipline the children, unless there's a life threatening. That's the situation in Burma they come from.
Those laws don't apply here. That picture of the child's back could be a compelling piece of evidence at trial. We talked to veteran defense attorney Jack Crawford.
People use belts, they use electrical cords, and our Supreme Court has approved that use of those items for discipline, as long as it's reasonable. You can't beat a child 1,000 times with a belt and say it's reasonable discipline. But can you hit them with the plastic coat hanger, let's say 20 times? I don't know. That's why we have juries.
After Tang was arrested, she took parenting classes mandated by the juvenile court. She learned discipline methods other than physical punishment.
Good morning, Sylvia. Well, that's right. Authorities have just come out and lifted that tsunami warning for that east coast, so they can now breathe a sigh of relief. We had 30 centimetre swells this morning, so there was activity out there. It comes after a 7.1 magnitude quake on the east coast of New Zealand. It happened at about 4:30 in the morning, where, of course, lots of people were sleeping in their beds. They heard houses creaking and their beds shaking. There have also been a lot of aftershocks as well, so pretty scary couple of hours for the people in the east coast. In terms of the communities there are a lot of small coastal communities, and we're hearing reports that a lot of people are working together, getting out of bed in their pyjamas, going up to the top of hills, nervous about a tsunami because, of course, it was long and slow, and meeting in places like schools and motels, trying to work together and help each other out. So no major reports of damage. There's been stock shaken from shelves, things like that, but not a very pleasant wake-up for people on the East Coast this morning.
There's new evidence that suggests a failure to protect the world's largest land mammals, elephants. A new study, the Great Elephant Census, found that between 2007 and 2014, the savanna elephant population in Africa declined by at least 30%.
Well, those numbers come after an extensive project during which researchers traveled across Africa in helicopters to count every elephant in 18 countries. CBS News foreign correspondent Deborah Pato joins us on the phone from South Africa. Deborah, the numbers are pretty startling. Is there thinking now that we could actually see elephants becoming extinct in our lifetime?
Certainly in some countries like Mali and Chad, it's estimated that the local population will be completely extinct very soon.
It was supposed to be routine, a quick test to make sure the engines worked before the official takeoff just days away. Then, as liquid oxygen and rocket-grade kerosene was being pumped in, a flash turned fireball.
While they were putting in these chilled propellants, which are kept at high pressure and are very explosive, there was some sort of issue, and the explosion took place very quickly.
The rocket destroyed, along with the satellite it was supposed to take into space. Made by an Israeli company, it was going to be used by Facebook to spread internet access across parts of Africa. Its founder, Mark Zuckerberg, said he was disappointed, but promised to continue working with other technologies to make up for what was lost. This is the second time SpaceX has seen one of its rockets explode. The last time, its fleet was grounded for 6 months. This accident will cost the company hundreds of millions of dollars, mean big delays for its other customers. But the biggest issue of all could be if it leads to doubts. U.S. officials said private companies could replace NASA. This will not help SpaceX prove it can, in fact, do just that.
Recent security scares at two of the largest U.S. airports raised questions this morning about safety in the face of public panic. Reports of a gunman created chaos Sunday at Los Angeles International Airport. A similar report at New York's JFK Airport about 2 weeks ago sent stampedes of people running for cover. Don Dahler is at JFK Airport with concerns about whether security officials are prepared to keep crowds in line. Don, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. The incident here at JFK shows that misinformation can lead to confusion and send people into a panic. With the U.S. Open tennis tournament gearing up nearby, authorities there are hoping that they can stay organized enough to keep people from being a danger to themselves. Come on! Run! Hundreds of travelers inside Los Angeles International Airport were sent running for safety Sunday night.
Operations, we have an emergency at the ticket counter.
Following reports of an alleged shooter.
I was on the jet bridge, and everybody was trampling down the runway when they heard the reports of the shootings.
The scare caused the evacuation of several terminals and delayed nearly 300 flights. Similar chaos erupted at New York's Kennedy Airport exactly 2 weeks earlier.
We heard shots, and everybody just pushed their way in.
Get down on the ground!
Both incidents were discovered to be triggered by apparent loud noises. Security experts say the frequency of recent attacks in France, Brussels, and Orlando have the general population on edge.
People are reacting because they understand the more quickly they react, they've heard this over and over again, their survival may depend on it. And so I think what you're seeing is reaction both to past news events, potential terrorist acts, and kind of the natural human response of fight or flight.
Law enforcement's next big task? Protecting 700,000 spectators at the U.S. Open. Hundreds of federal and local police, as well as private security officials, have all been assigned to protect the tournament crowds. Layers of protection have been installed, including screening checkpoints, roadblocks, and reinforced fencing, all in place to prevent a large-scale attack.
I have to also manage the security on the court.
U.S. Open Security Director Michael Rodriguez says organization is key.
We have a command center over here. In that command center is NYPD, FDNY, security company, medical services. So we have a way of getting all of our communication into one location.
Even so, Rodriguez says there's no silver bullet solution to controlling the hordes of fans.
No matter what we do to mitigate the risk from the threat out there, we're always going to have crowds at our events. Crowd management is never going away. So that's the thing we constantly need to work on.
Rodriguez says they are also focusing on the so-called soft zones outside the security zones, for instance, where people line up in their cars. Counterterrorism units, the FBI, and even the U.S. Army are focused on keeping those areas safe.
This is the Skokie Police Department. This is the Skokie Police Department. Come outside. Show your hands.
Y'all ready? Do it. Get up there. Show me your hands. Put your hands up. Put your hands up. Keep them right there. Stand up. Stand up now. Walk my way. Walk my way. Stay there, ma'am. Come out here now. Now. Do it now! Come here! I'm gonna tase you! Do it now! Man, get down! Get down! Get down! Get down! What I do? What I do? No! I made it go turn around! Turn around! Don't put your hand around! Turn around! I ain't turning around for shit! Turn around and face that way! What I do? Turn around and face that way. Turn around and face that way now, or I'll spray you. Hey, hey, man. Hey, my mama's 84 years old, mother. Hey, man. Stand up. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Help me, Jesus. Lord, help me, Lord. Help me, Lord. Oh, Lord, Jesus. Lord, help me. Help me. Lord, I made it go. Help me, Jesus. Lord, help me, Jesus. Help me, Lord. Get out of my back.
Let's go to Omar Villafranca in Panacea, Florida. He's near where the storm came ashore. Omar, good morning.
Good morning. Hermine made landfall about 15 miles from here, and the storm left its mark. Thousands of trees like this one were toppled over. This one just happens to be about 50 feet tall. It's now blocking this road. Thousands of people are still without power, and that storm surge flooded entire communities. Overnight, Hermine smashed into Florida's Gulf Coast, making landfall as a Category 1 hurricane around 1:30 a.m. Eastern Time, dumping torrential rain and unleashing powerful winds of 80 miles per hour. The first hurricane to hit the state of Florida in more than a decade has already knocked out power to tens of thousands of people. Roads in Alligator Harbor have been torn apart. Massive storm surges, some projected to be up to 12 feet high, are pummeling coastal areas. Evacuations are underway in areas north of Tampa, where water has jumped over seawalls and started to push into homes.
I don't know the condition of my house. I don't know if it's flooded or if it isn't. It's really, really, really bad. Like, I've never seen it this bad before.
As Hermine churns northward,
the street is completely underwater.
It's soaking parts of Florida that have already seen close to 2 feet of rain over the last 3 days. Governor Rick Scott has declared a state of emergency in 51 counties with 6,000 National Guardsmen on standby. He's urging everyone not to take any chances with this storm.
We can rebuild a home, we can rebuild a business, we cannot rebuild your life.
The storm has lost some of its destructive power as it heads north into Georgia. No word yet on if this storm has killed anyone. Nora?
That is some good news. Omar, thank you so much.
Nominal first stage performance. T-minus 5 minutes and counting.
There's been another mass shooting in America. This time in a